Welcome to DockerCon. Thank you for joining us today. Now, before we get going, Docker is a global community, and we're very aware that we're holding this event at a time of great suffering in our world. And that's why, before we get going, I would ask you to join us all in a moment of silence in solidarity with the citizens of Ukraine. And while we do so, we at Docker are making a contribution to the humanitarian efforts in Ukraine, and we would ask you who are attending today to also donate as you are able. DockerCon takes a village, and we want to spend a moment up top to thank those who have made this event possible. First of all, you, the community. Would be no need for DockerCon if you weren't here, and we have Docker captains presenting great talks and community members from around the world doing watch parties to engage deeply and thoroughly throughout the conference. Second, our customers, 57,000 and counting, and without you, Docker wouldn't exist. We could not host this conference. And of course, the Docker crew, now more than 200 employees, who have been working for months in preparation, planning, practicing for today. And of course, Docker is part of a big community with hundreds of partners, hundreds of open source projects. And you're going to see today talks and demos and breakout sessions, all of which they're contributing to, and of course, sponsoring the conference itself. To everyone, thank you. Now, it's been 12 months since the last DockerCon, and we've made some progress as a community since then. We're now up to 12 million registered Docker developers from more than 200 countries around the world, and you have all contributed more than 14 million images and are sharing those through Docker Hub to the tune of 13 billion downloads a month. Now that's a lot of growth, but you know what? We can't wait to see what the next 12 months bring, and that starts today here at DockerCon. So, this is our 8th year at DockerCon, and over the years, we've evolved some traditions. And they are proving very near and dear and beloved by the community. You saw one earlier today. Shai and Kat shared with you this year's Docker Doodle. We have another one, which has proved very important to make sure things go smoothly, and that is giving a sacrifice to the demo gods. We have demos throughout the conference. We have live demos, pre-recorded demos, but whether you're live or pre-recorded, we know there's risk in doing that demo. So in giving a gift to the demo gods, we hope all goes well for all demoers today. So bear with us. With the nautical theme, we have chosen to ring a ship's bell as a sacrifice to the demo gods. Ready? All right, demo gods, be kind. Demoers, be awesome. All right, so we have a great show in plan for you today. First up, you're going to see talks from across the ecosystem. That includes partners, open source projects, demos from them, and more. Second, you're going to see lots of exciting product announcements, new feature updates across the product line. Docker Desktop, Docker Hub, Trusted Content, Compose, Build Kit, and much more. And finally, DockerCon is for developers by developers. And so today, you're going to hear fantastic stories from developers just like you, sharing how they use Docker and partner technologies to build, share, and run modern applications. All right, everyone ready? All right, let's get going with our first story. We are so excited to share this story about the developers at Lucasfilm. That's the team behind Star Wars, and how they use Docker to create experiences from a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. All right, join me in welcoming Brian Jackson, Engineering Manager at Lucasfilm. Brian, so glad to have you here. Brian, let's start by just sharing a little bit about yourself and what your team there at Lucasfilm is doing.
Sure, yeah. I'm a part of the Advanced Development Group, which is a team that is focused on creative storytelling in real-time rendering, and a part of ILMX Lab, which is our studio dedicated to being able to create immersive experiences, virtual reality and augmented reality. And one of those is Vader Immortal, and most recently Tales from the Galaxy's Edge. We've got a little clip of Vader Immortal.
Awesome, let's check it out.
And our future is in your hands. Vader is here.
You are the one I've been searching for. Do as I command.
Is there any version of this plan that doesn't end up with us being dead?
Awesome, very cool, Brian.
Thanks, we're really proud of these experiences.
Oh, I can see why, so much fun. Oh, Brian, we know that your team at Lucasfilm did a lot of work in terms of automation for both the automation engineers as well as the artists. Can you go into a little more detail about that?
Yeah. So I manage our automation engineering team who've created a delivery pipeline, both for themselves to be efficient in creating a pipeline for our engineers and artists who are actually creating these experiences. And one of the exciting things is introducing Docker as a part of that. We've really improved the productivity of our team and the team as a whole.
Well, Brian, you shared that one of the techniques and one of the innovations that you did was really automating the Docker file creation that then creates the Unreal engines for the artists. And so,
That's right.
Can you go into a little more detail about what that looks like?
Yeah, sure. So our experiences are based on the Unreal Engine, and we've got a Windows environment. And so this example Docker file that we're showing starts by standing on the shoulders of Dr. Adam Ryan, who created the Unreal Containers project. And from there, we've actually imported it from our Artifactory internally. And then we simply layer on some of the dependencies that Unreal Engine needs for a particular version. One of the great things here is being able to take the Unreal Engine and have different build environments for different versions. And then layering in some of the tooling that we need, things like Perforce for source control management.
Oh, Brian, you shared with us earlier that the impacts on productivity for both the automation engineers and the artists have been pretty fantastic. Can you share with the community kind of what that was before and what it is after?
Sure, yeah, and so before we were managing a build farm of agents that needed all of these different dependencies installed, and it might take 50 hours for us to change.
50 hours?
Yeah, one of these, one change to this entire farm. And now we can roll things out in less than an hour because we've got a full CI/CD pipeline where our automation engineers are making a change to this file, rolling that out into our GitHub Enterprise, pushing that into automatically through code review into our Artifactory, which then that is being, during our runtime, pulling directly from Artifactory into our TeamCity build agents. It's made things so much more efficient for them.
That's incredible. You were also sharing, Brian, that you've also parallelized the process, right? So it's not just shorter time frame of the pipeline itself, but you're able to kick them off and have multiple pipelines running in parallel. Is that right?
That's right. And so, I think a big key piece of that is TeamCity being able to allow us to have multiple agents running all in one parallel, universe of things. It's really exciting.
Right on, right on. Well, Brian, we appreciate your sharing your story with the community today. This is DockerCon. It's a community of developers, for developers, by developers.
Yes.
What are you looking forward to today?
Well, I think myself as an engineer really love to hear other stories. That's one of the most important ways that I learn. So hearing from other customers and users of Docker is really what I'm looking forward to.
Awesome. Brian, thanks so much for joining us today here at DockerCon.
Thanks, SJ.
Thank you. All right, right? Wasn't that cool? You'll hear from many other developers today at DockerCon and their stories about how they're using Docker. Now, Brian's story was a great story of how he and his team used Docker to create phenomenal productivity benefits for his team as well as for the artists that they serve. But notice that it wasn't just Docker. He was also sharing how they use Docker together with partner technologies to deliver those productivity benefits. But with so many tools from which to choose, it can be really challenging for a developer to figure out how to discover, how to configure, how to safely start using new tools when developing their applications. Until now, we are really pleased to announce here today at DockerCon a new product, Docker Extensions. All right, yay, yay. Docker Extensions is the easiest, fastest way for devs to discover, integrate, and use ecosystem partner tools for building modern apps. So to learn more about Docker Extensions, I'm pleased to welcome to the stage Amy Bass, Senior Product Manager at Docker for Docker Extensions. Amy, welcome.
All right, so let's get started talking about extensions and why I'm so excited for you to try them. Have you ever had a tool that you use every day and just wanted to extend its functionality? Well, if you have, it's definitely a challenge that we here at Docker recognize exists for developers. And so to solve that challenge, we've introduced Docker Extensions, which makes Docker Desktop now pluggable. This means that you can add new capabilities to Docker Desktop without leaving Desktop itself. So let's just dive in. All right, I'm going to get started with our demo. So to get started, all I've done is upgraded to the latest version of Docker Desktop, and I now have extensions enabled. All I have to do is click Add Extensions, and that takes me right into the extension marketplace. So here we've actually worked with our partners to add a range of extensions. So we have extensions for testing, debugging, networking, scanning for vulnerabilities, as well as getting started with Kubernetes and more. If you see an extension that you like, but you want to learn more about it, all you have to do is click on that extension, and you'll see a detailed description. Now, today I'm going to install 2 extensions that were created by Docker so that you can see a little bit of how extensions function. I'm going to start with disk usage, as well as Logs Explorer. And all I had to do was click install. I didn't have to go to the command line or anywhere else to install these extensions. All right, now that they're installed, all I have to do is click on the extension on the left-hand side. And here you can see disk usage, which is a great way to clean up your disk space. You can see I have about 3 gigs worth of images, a little under a gig of containers. Now, say I wanted to clean some of this up, all I have to do is click Reclaim Space. And here you can see the options that are available to me. So I can check a few of these if I wanted to, and just hit delete, and it's as simple as that. Again, I didn't have to leave Docker Desktop to clean up my disk space. Now, the other extension I want to show you is Logs Explorer. Now, typically when I go to look at my logs, I have to go to the CLI, and I can only look at a container at a time. But with Logs Explorer, I can look at all logs at once, or I can filter down to a specific container. Now, the other cool thing I can do is search. So if I wanted to look for all the exit events, for example, I just type in the word exit, and my search filter is applied instantly. I can also carry that filter over to all containers. And if I wanted to remove it, all I have to do is simply click on it. So again, Logs Explorer is a great way to search and view your logs all in one place. Now, I wish we had more time together because there are so many other extensions that I wish I can show you, like Tailscale, where you can share your containers on a private network that's secure, or Telepresence, where I can develop and test my Docker containers with Kubernetes. But since we don't, I really want to invite you to check out the new extensions page that's launching here at DockerCon later this afternoon, where you can find out more information about these specific extensions and more from our partners where they do deeper dives. Now, there's still one other thing I want to talk to you about, and that's the Extensions SDK. So here at Docker, we're developer obsessed. And we know that developers have product ideas for our product that we can't get to because there's just so many great ideas out there. So that's why we've opened up the Docker Extensions SDK to you, the community, so that you can contribute to Docker Desktop. So it's as simple as a container is an extension is just an image, which means if you know how to work with images, you can get up and running to power up your team's workflows or extend Docker's capabilities. Now, to get you started, we've also included some samples and tutorials in our SDK documentation. Now, to find that documentation, it's pretty simple. All you have to do is go back to the extensions marketplace. We've included a helpful link where it says, find out how you can build your own extensions, and click here. And this is going to pull up the extensions SDK documentation. Now, if you want to learn more about building extensions, there's 2 sessions at DockerCon I highly recommend you check out. One of them is getting started building extensions by 2 Docker employees who actually built extensions and the extensions SDK. And the other is Ambassador Labs integrating Telepresence with Docker Desktop, where they talk about how they integrated and built their extension. All right, so I can't wait to see what you guys build. Have a great DockerCon. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. And thank you to the entire Docker Extensions team. Now, to showcase the power of Docker Extensions and the productivity benefits they give to developers and their teams, we are honored to collaborate with these 15 Docker Extension partners, each of which have built a Docker extension to address use cases important for developers, including collaboration, hybrid development environments, building applications for Kubernetes, securing the software supply chain, and much more. Let's take a look at a couple of these, shall we? We'll start by seeing how Docker extensions simplify setting up hybrid development environments for development teams. Let's start by hearing from Docker extensions partner Okteto and their customer LaunchDarkly. Let's take a look.
Hello everyone. As an early member of the Docker community, I'm very happy to be here with all of you and share what we have done with the Okteto Docker Desktop extension to develop Docker Compose applications using remote development environments. But before that, let me introduce you to Jos, platform engineer at LaunchDarkly.
Hi, Pablo.
Hi, Jos. We all know about LaunchDarkly, but can you tell us more about what you are building?
Yeah, totally. We are building a feature management platform with features such as experimentation and code references, and obviously a pretty advanced feature flagging solution.
And how is your development workflow?
In order to keep our team fast and nimble, we want to have an easy way for every developer on our team to spin up a local development environment with a personal replica of LaunchDarkly. For us, Docker Compose was the obvious answer.
And why Docker Compose?
Developers love Docker Compose. One file to define your entire application and one command to spin it all up. Fast and easy. It's pretty great. However, as our solution and our team grew, we started to run into limits of what a developer workstation can run. That is why we started to use Okteto, which allows us to move our development environment to the cloud, hence solving the limitations of local dev workstations.
And how is your development workflow with Okteto?
Okteto supports Docker Compose out of the box, so it's great. For us, it just worked. We run one command and Okteto provides the same experience as Docker Compose up, but you can mix you can run a mix of local containers and containers in a remote cluster. The remote development experience integrates with port forwards, hot reloaders, and debuggers.
Awesome. And you know what? With the Okteto extension, you can have the same development experience with a single click. Let me show you how it works. From Docker Desktop, go to the Okteto extension, and from there, select the Docker Compose file you want to develop. While Okteto is running my containers on remote, let me show you the application I'm using for the demo. It's the well-known voting app to place votes between cats and dogs. Every vote goes through a Java service, then a Kafka container, then a worker in Go, then a database, and finally the result component is consuming the votes to show the final results. This is the Docker Compose of the application. I'm using this annotation to instruct the Okteto extension to run this container on remote. Everything is running on remote, but the result service, which is running locally. Result is exposed on localhost 4000, and vote is exposed on localhost 8080. If I access my application on localhost, I can see the result component. This is expected because I'm running the result component locally. But I can also the vote component on 8080. And if I place one vote here, the vote goes through the result component. This is because Okteto is forwarding localhost 8080 to the vote container running on remote. Then the vote goes through Kafka, the worker in Go, and the database, all running on remote. And finally, the result component running locally can access the database because Okteto is exposing the database on localhost. So altogether, the idea is to have the same experience as Docker Compose. You can use host volumes to hot reload your application, access your application on localhost, attach your debuggers, but you can have a mix of containers running locally and on remote. If you want to know more about the Okteto extension, sign up for the beta on this link.
This is great. With the Okteto Docker Desktop extension, our developers can use Docker Desktop, a tool they already know and love, to deploy their remote development environments.
Exactly. That's why we did it. So I hope you all enjoy remote development with the Okteto extension.
Cool, right? Thank you, Okteto. Thank you, LaunchDarkly. Now let's look at another use case. You as a developer community have shared with us that developing applications for deployment to Kubernetes can still be quite complex. And so that's why today we're honored to partner with these 5 Docker extension partners, all who have built Docker extensions to take this challenge head on. Let's take a closer look at one of them. I had the chance to speak earlier with Craig McLellan, Kubernetes co-founder and vice president at VMware. And we talked about where Kubernetes is today for application development. What are the challenges that developers face? And how the VMware Docker extension addresses those challenges. Let's hear more from Craig and the VMware team.
Simplifying application development for Kubernetes is so important to our industry, and that's why we're excited to welcome today the VMware Tanzu team and show off their extension and what they've done to help developers build, share, and run apps for Kubernetes. Now, I'm really happy to welcome Craig McLellan here to the stage. And Craig, as you know, is one of the co-founders of Kubernetes and is now leading cloud-native app product for VMware Tanzu. And Craig, we've been on this journey for 8 years now, right? We've seen the rise of microservices, the rise of Docker, and the rise of Kubernetes. So I thought it might just be fun to start off by reflecting on that journey and maybe go back and the original founding vision and purpose of Kubernetes, and then fast forward to where we are today.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. It's been a wonderful journey, and I've enjoyed every step along the way. And I think it's really important to kind of, when we look back on the history of these two technologies, really understand and celebrate what they're great at. And I think, when we look at Docker, Docker's always been about the developer experience. And I think the Kubernetes community owes Docker a great debt of gratitude because it really started everything for us. It was the way in which developers could actually engage with technologies that were historically, hidden under a lot of complexity. And Kubernetes obviously is an infrastructure technology. I think of Kubernetes as plumbing. It doesn't necessarily solve for the developer experience challenges. Now, as we look to where we are today, we do see Kubernetes as being a relatively ubiquitous substrate onto which people will want to run Docker container. Absolutely. But it does raise the question of what key challenges remain. And I think there's 2 challenges that are really worth pointing to, and both of which I think the Docker team are doing a great job addressing. Now, obviously, supply chain management is becoming increasingly important. And I do see Docker Hub as being a really important steward of trusted content, of which the Tanzu team is actually very pleased to be able to participate and contribute content that can then be consumed by the broader community in a trusted way. Mm-hmm. But what's becoming increasingly important for enterprise organizations is individual developer productivity. The thing that makes enterprise organizations successful is how effectively they can deploy their engineers to solve real-world business problems with a minimal amount of overhead and mess and fuss. And that's what makes me so excited about the work that the Docker team's been doing to really unlock the Docker desktop experience and make it richer and more complete. And so one of the things that we've been working with your team for a little while on is introducing some extensions that enable developers to get a local Kubernetes experience using Tanzu Community Edition, so that you have a one-click way to provision up and ultimately construct that local Kubernetes environment that looks and feels exactly like the production environments downstream. And so this is just, obviously a start together on this journey, but I think it's going to make a big difference to really drive that shift left experience, making Kubernetes more accessible, using some of the ethos that Docker has really perfected over the years of just creating elegant developer experiences, making production-like environments accessible early in the developer's lifecycle, and then ultimately looking at ways to bring through the richness of things like the Tanzu portfolio as organizations go through that outer loop deployment process and look at actually getting the production outcomes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We've been impressed, Craig, with how well the VMware team has rolled up their sleeves and jumped into the extension and given us phenomenal feedback in terms of how we could improve the extensions construction experience, the extensions build experience, so that your team could be as effective as possible. But let's take a look at the result. I know the team's been working hard for a couple months, and the sneak peeks I've seen are fantastic. Let's share it with the rest of the audience.
Hi, this is Antonio from VMware, and now it's time for the demo of the VMware Tanzu Community Edition extension for Docker Desktop that we have built. So first of all, let's go to the Docker Desktop screen, and from here, let's go to Extensions and Marketplace. Here you will see several extensions that developers have built, And so the only thing you have to do is just click on install on the VMware Tanzu Community Edition extension, and you will get the extension here on the left. And this is a welcome screen. From here, you can just get more information about what Tanzu Community Edition is, but also you are able to spin up a cluster right in a single click. No? So let's create a cluster. Let's press start, and it will take a few minutes on get started. But what it is doing under the hood is creating a single node and managed cluster in Tanzu Community Edition, but it is kind of opinionated installation because we are installing, for instance, Contour as an ingress controller, but also we are installing kubeapps. Kubeapps is a package manager for your Kubernetes cluster. So you can install packages in a really easy way, either curl packages, Helm packages, Flux packages, or other packages. So this is the what is included in this installation, and it will take a few minutes in get it done. So let's wait until it gets finished, and we have a cluster. After a few minutes, the installation is now completed. So let's have a look at the logs. It started creating the cluster, then some namespaces, installing kubeapps, installing the ingress controller, Contour, but also it has exposed the kubeconfig directly on the host, meaning that you are able right now to interact with your cluster using your kubectl command line.
Well, Craig, congratulations to you and the team. Really, really fantastic simplification of the developer experience, and really a natural extension, no pun intended, of the Docker desktop experience for developers. Thanks so much for all the team's efforts there.
Thank you, Scott. It's been an absolute pleasure to work with the Docker team, and we can't wait to continue this journey together.
Excellent. Looking forward to it, Craig. Thanks again for joining us at DockerCon to announce this very exciting Docker extension.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you, VMware team. Now, one more Docker extensions use case that we'd like to look at today concerns securing the software supply chain. Now, as part of securing the software supply chain, today, Docker and its partners provide a range of trusted content. That includes over 160 Docker official images. That includes more than 40 commercial ISVs providing their images in Docker's Verified Publisher program. And that also includes more than 1,200 open source projects provided through Docker-sponsored open source program. And all of this trusted content is provided through Docker Hub, all completely free. But what about the tools that devs need to help them securely build trusted applications? Well, that's why today we're really pleased to collaborate with these 4 Docker extension launch partners, each of which has built a Docker extension to more tightly integrate their security tools with the Docker workflow developers are already using. Let's take a closer look at one of these. Specifically, let's see what our Docker extensions partner JFrog has built with their Docker extension in conversation with their customer F5. Let's take a look.
We're really excited to be at DockerCon talking about the new Docker desktop extension that we built at JFrog. This is something which integrates well with our security solution, which we've been getting our customers to test out in the beta. And I'm really pleased that we're going to be able to demo it and talk with one of our top customers. So let me quickly introduce my fellow panelists. So I'm Stephen Chin, VP of Developer Relations at JFrog. I'm joined by Damian Curry, Technical Director for Community Alliances. How you doing, Damian?
Great, thanks for having me.
And I'm also joined by Melissa McKay, who's a developer advocate at JFrog and also a Docker captain. How you doing, Melissa?
Hey, doing great. I'm excited to show you a demo of this today.
Cool. And the Docker desktop extension, which we built, basically at a high level, what it does is it allows you to do security scans of your Docker images. It connects with the JFrog free tier, so it also enables and helps you set up a entirely free version of our stack, which you can do security scans against. And just to kind of bring this back to how customers use it, Damien, how are you using Docker containers and Docker Desktop at F5?
Yeah, I mean, as just like everybody else, more and more of our development is being done, in containerized environments locally, whether it's because we're building products that are running containers under the hood or just for ease of development for our development teams. It's playing a huge role and, really helps speed up that development process.
Cool, that's awesome. And you're also JFrog customers. So how does Artifactory and Xray fit into your overall DevOps pipeline?
Yeah, I mean, everything goes to Artifactory, and because of that, everything runs through Xray. So it's really a core part. We have a lot of Artifactory systems, and the Xray scanning abilities are great for finding those vulnerabilities as soon as you can, and especially now with being able to do it on your desktop, you can get it even faster.
Okay, that's awesome. And I think everyone wants to see how this integration actually works. So can you talk about some of the details and give us a quick demo, Melissa?
Yeah, let's do it. So basically, Docker Desktop is already pretty useful when you're looking at the containers and the images that you have on your machine, as well as your containers. You can start, stop, and examine your images and containers all from within Docker Desktop. Now, from also within Docker Desktop, you have extensions, and JFrog has built an extension that builds on top of our Xray offerings, giving you the ability to scan the images that are local on your machine. This is before you even were to push these images into permanent storage anywhere, or let's say you are in active development and you just want to check it first before checking in your changes to your code base. So here I've just, you can choose from any of the images that you have available on your local machine. And I chose the latest Nginx image, just pulled that directly down from Docker Hub. And from here, I can run the scan and I can see all of the vulnerabilities that I might want to pay attention to. Now, you'll see a lot of these are from the base image that Nginx is built on top of, the Debian Bullseye image. For each one of these, you can take a look at the details, do a little bit more research and decide from then and there whether this is something that you need to pay attention to, whether you need to look for a later image to work from, or maybe a better base image that will meet your security policies. In order to use this functionality, you need to have a JFrog platform environment. You are able to set one up for free. The settings here, you just put in your access credentials to either your existing environment, or you can create a new one on the fly right here. It only takes a few minutes.
Thanks, Melissa. That was awesome. And it shows how easy it is to scan your images, start shifting left with security, and kind of bringing this functionality to developers in your organization. So thanks so much, Melissa, for giving us a great demo of the functionality, for Damien for kind of bringing it home with a real customer use case for how you're using it at F5. And we're going to be doing a lightning talk where Melissa and Damien will go into even more details on the integration, how it works, kind of different options and flags you can set, and how you can better integrate this into your workflow. So thanks so much for joining us for this short keynote on our Docker desktop extension with JFrog Xray, and we hope you enjoy the rest of the great content at DockerCon.
Cool, right? Thank you, JFrog. Thank you, F5. Now, in these last couple minutes, we have seen from Okteto, VMware, JFrog, the cool Docker extensions they built to solve specific use cases for developers. And we want to thank all 15 of our Docker extensions launch partners for the work they put into their extensions, for joining us today here at DockerCon, and for sharing their work with all of you throughout today in breakout session, demos, and more. Now, whether you're a partner or whether you're an individual developer, with the open source Docker Extensions SDK, you can build your own extensions right away. And we can't wait to see what you create. Now, are you all as excited as we are about Docker extensions? Yes, yes. We thought so. So here you go. Go here, download the latest edition of Docker Desktop. It has all the Docker extensions from all the partners built in, ready to go, and it has a link to the open source Docker Extensions SDK. We can't wait to see what you build. Now, Docker extensions are shipping today in Docker Desktop for Windows and Mac. Now, of course, in addition to Docker extensions, Docker Desktop provides other features and benefits. For example, one-click install with same default configurations and automatic incremental functional and security updates of all the open source tools you need for building modern apps, including the Docker Engine, Kubernetes, the Docker CLI, Docker GUI, Compose, Build Kit, scanning, and much more. Second, Docker Desktop also provides an integrated, secured, managed Linux virtual machine for running all the Linux tools as well as Linux containers. And third, Docker Desktop provides an integrated, configured native Windows and Mac file system and networking stacks with all the tools so that you don't have to spend your time doing that. Now, while there are lots of developers out there using Windows and Mac workstations, we also know there are a lot of developers out there using Linux as their primary workstations now as well. And up till now, they have not been able to benefit from the benefits of Docker Desktop until today. We are excited to announce here at DockerCon the general availability of Docker Desktop for Linux. Yeah. Woo! All the benefits of Docker Desktop brought to Linux workstations. Let's hear more about Docker Desktop for Linux from our own Senior Product Manager of Docker Desktop for Linux, Kris McLellan.
Hi, I'm Kris McLellan, a product manager at Docker, and I'm here today to talk to you about why we built Docker Desktop for Linux. Firstly, let's start with what Docker Desktop is. Docker Desktop is an easy-to-install application that enables you to build and share containerized applications and microservices. Desktop includes Docker Engine, the Docker CLI client, Docker Compose, Docker Content Trust, Kubernetes, and Credential Helper. It works with your choice of development tools and languages and gives you access to a vast library of certified images and templates in Docker Hub. This enables development teams to extend their environment to rapidly auto-build, continuously integrate, and collaborate using a secure repository. Docker Desktop for Linux is exactly the same Docker Desktop experience that developers get on macOS and Windows, but for Linux desktop environments. Developers using Docker on Linux desktop environments have up until now used Docker CE, and they can continue to do so. Nothing is being taken away there. Desktop for Linux just ensures that Linux developers are able to leverage all of the exciting new functionality that's being built into Docker Desktop, such as the extensions that we've seen today. We listened to our community, and Docker Desktop for Linux was the second highest voted issue on Docker's public roadmap. When we spoke with Linux developers that had voted for this item, they made it clear that they wanted a unified Docker experience across all major OSs, so that they have parity with counterparts on Windows and Mac, as well as easy onboarding, immediate access to new features that have historically only been available on Docker Desktop for Windows and Mac, a great example of which we've seen today with extensions, the seamless Kubernetes integration that Docker Desktop provides, and which reduces the cognitive load in getting your local Kubernetes development environment up and running, and of course the Docker Desktop UI, that makes it so much easier to manage volumes, containers, and images, as well as providing you with insights into the Docker processes running locally on your machine. As Docker add value to Docker Desktop at an accelerated pace, it's really important to us that the Linux community are also able to benefit from this should they wish. So at launch, we're providing deb and RPM packages which cover a wide range of popular Linux distributions, including but not limited to Ubuntu and other Debian-based distros, as well as Fedora. We're also supporting Arch Linux and are excited to announce support for 64-bit variants of Raspberry Pi OS. Should you wish to report any issues, please do so on the Desktop Linux issue tracker within Docker's GitHub space. To get started with Docker Desktop for Linux, visit the Docker docs and find the relevant instructions for your distro of choice. So, what's next for Desktop for Linux? Well, we've been moving quickly, having only launched the early tech preview in January of this year. Over the coming months, we'll be looking to make the installation process more seamless with one-command installs, for example, via apt-get install Docker Desktop. We'll also be working with our Linux community of developers to ensure as wide a range of compatibility as possible on various Linux distributions. Thank you very much for your time today. I hope you try out Docker Desktop for Linux and enjoy using it. Enjoy the rest of the DockerCon keynote.
Thank you, Kris. Thank you to you and the entire Docker Desktop for Linux team. Now, are you all as excited about Docker Desktop for Linux as we are? Yeah! Thought so. Please go here, download it today, check it out, give us the feedback. We can't wait to hear from you. All right, we want to wrap our keynote as we began with a developer story. Rapid7, it's a company that provides security insights to its customers. They use Docker to automatically spin up development environments in Docker Desktop, reducing onboarding time from days to minutes, and increasing release frequency from weekly to daily. Sounds cool, right? To hear more, we're pleased to welcome Kris Rivera, Principal Software Engineer at Rapid7. Kris, thanks for coming to DockerCon. Kris, let's start. Can you just share with our community a little bit about yourself?
Of course. Well, as you mentioned, SJ, I'm a principal software developer at Rapid7, and I've been a software developer for almost 15 years now. Something that people don't know about me is actually I'm a black belt in karate, and as a proud Latino, I love to salsa dance. It's in my blood.
Kris, coding and salsa dance, you just won the keynote right there. So, we can just declare this over. Now, Kris, tell us a little bit about your company, Rapid7.
Sure thing. So Rapid7 is a Boston-based company that helps organizations accelerate and innovate securely. Now, where I work, Inside Cloud Security, or Inside CloudSec for short, we help simplify security, cloud security, by allowing organizations to develop and build securely in the cloud. And just as a little DockerCon note, we just recently released a feature that allows customers to secure their containers in production in the cloud as well. So it's pretty important stuff.
Very cool, very cool. Now, Kris, you shared with me before some of the many automations that you put in place to help both your development teams as well as your customers. Yes. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so as an overview of what I've done at Rapid7 and at Inside Cloud Security for short, I've enabled us to be able to execute our development environment and spin up any different aspect of it in just a very short period of time. We starts with being able to start up your images and containers, install dependencies, code sharing across the containers, database migrations, and then spinning up any different part of the application that you need. So either the full stack or just a single database as well for any developer.
Kris, you were showing us earlier some of the innovations that you and your team have put in place, and in particular, you're pushing Compose like to its very limit. Yes. Can you go into the next level of detail? We're going to show it here to the community. What's going on there?
Oh yeah, for sure. So with Docker Compose, it was needed to be able to orchestrate all of our containers. We had a lot of different images from back end to front end, and one of the two big problems that needed to be tackled to achieve this were actually code sharing and also figuring out how to mount and commit images, layers back to our base images. So you'll see on that first segment here in the first section, the code sharing portion, that's the code volume here. The really important aspect of that is not necessarily the mounting locations, but that little :Z at the end. It took a little bit of documentation digging to figure that one out, but that allows us to be able to share code on the host machine as well as inside the container, and across many containers, where the container can actually modify some of the code if necessary, as well as the host machine modify it to be able to trigger compilation. And then being able to ensure that dependencies are maintained across containers from run to run, we had to use Docker and Docker. So we installed Docker in the actual image, the base image, and then we mount the Docker socket within the container such that when you do download and install even incremental dependencies, you run a little commit line at the end and it will affect the host machine. So yeah, so sorry, continuing on, you can see that we're also using anchors as well to be able to ensure that we're not replicating any of the properties that we need, you always do not repeat yourself, and want to make sure that as you continue down, then you are able to see as well that we have one single property bundle that you're able to spread inside of a service. And we just run, like in our dependencies for our Python, we just run pip install and then just Docker commit, and it commits it right back to the base layer, and every container gets it subsequently. So it makes it really easy.
It's a great example of just pushing the tech to the edge, Kris. Very, very cool.
Thank you.
Kris, you also shared with us earlier, like the results are pretty fantastic. Like, can you share with the community, like what was before the situation in terms of whether duration, timeframes, latency, and what you're seeing now?
Sure. So, as with any development environment in any place, you follow the documentation, and it takes, sometimes days or whatnot, most of 2 days. I was able to take that, put it into Docker file, use Compose, and took what is days down to 15 minutes.
Wow.
And after the post initialization, down to 5.
Wow, it's fantastic results, Kris. Congrats to you and your team
Thank you
for
so
those types
much.
of results. So, Kris, we appreciate your sharing your story and the Rapid7 story here today with our community. What are you, as you think about today's DockerCon, what are you looking forward to?
Sure. I mean, I just learned about Docker extensions, so I am super excited about that. But if you're also excited by what I had to say and want to deep dive with me later in my breakout session, Development Environments in Docker, come join me later and let's learn together.
Awesome. Kris,
thanks
so much for joining us today at DockerCon.
Thank you so much.
Now, Kris's story from Rapid7 and Brian's story earlier from Lucasfilm, they showed how they're putting fantastic innovations in place to improve the productivity and benefits of their development teams. And they're using many cutting-edge features from Docker and pushing it right to the edge. And these features, as well as the just announced Docker extensions, Docker Desktop for Linux, these are just a few of the more than 7,000 features that we have shipped to the developers in the last 12 months. And that's in addition to storage, lots of Docker engines, and network egress, and much more. And all of the developer-facing features are available 100% for free. Now, that's by design, because we see the developer market exploding. It's about 26 million developers in the market today. That's going to 45 million developers in this decade. And we want to make Docker accessible to every developer. And in fact, by our accounts, about 80% of the developer market, millions of developers, continue to use Docker Desktop absolutely for free. Now, of course, some of those developers work for large organizations, and those organizations that are getting value from Docker, that are building production applications using Docker, and they need additional visibility and management and security for the hundreds, sometimes thousands of developers across their organizations that are using Docker, they purchase a Docker subscription. And this allows us to hire even more engineers to put even more features and value into the product and to ship that faster to all developers in the Docker ecosystem. Now, this allows us to sustainably scale Docker to meet the needs of tens of millions of developers in the years, even decades to come. And we want to build a sustainable company that will be around for decades because, given the rapid pace of technology, Docker aspires to serve developers today as well as tomorrow. Now, today, containers are the basic building block of modern apps. But we're seeing already that devs are exploring many new areas, including AI/ML, serverless, functions as a service, WASM, WebAssembly, Web3, and much, much more. And you know what? They're doing so using the skills, the tools, the open standards of the Docker ecosystem to do these explorations. And with 26 million developers in the world, growing to 45 million this decade, Docker is there for current developers and future developers, for existing apps and new apps. Now, we are so pleased. We have talks on all these subjects, all these topics, all these technologies and more today at DockerCon. Check them out. Get involved. And let's together, as a developer community, build towards the future.